These are the solutions for the first practice quiz for quiz 8 in the third trimester. So on questions 1 and 2, you're using the empirical rule diagram to answer the questions. So between what two boundary values does 68.2% of the data lie? So that's one standard deviation away. So if you're given the percentage, that tells you how many times to add and subtract the standard deviation from the mean. If you're given the boundaries, then you have to figure out how many times the standard deviation was added and subtracted from the mean, and that's question 2. So this is one time. So that's what we're doing with the standard deviation. We're subtracting it and adding it one time. And that gives us 91 and 143. And then here, this looks like 3 times that it's been subtracted. So 75 minus 18 and 75 plus 18 gives you 57 and 93 respectively. So respectively, I meant to say. So that is 3 standard deviations away. So that's 99.73% of the data that lies between there. So 57. You just have to figure out how many times it could be once, twice, or 3 times subtracted. So then you record the percentage of the data. So either you got to figure it out how many times and record the percent, or you're given the percent and you have to add or subtract it that many times. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, the rest of the way you're using the calculator in the learning plan. So this is what it looks like. And it's going to tell you the percent. And so what it's doing, I'll put this one in and then I'll show you, is it's giving you a certain part of, so this one is between 90 and 100, the curve under the normal curve, so 0.3413, that it's calculating the area. So let me put that up here. So like if you had this one that represents this situation, it's calculating the area from 90 to 100, where the mean is 100 and the standard deviation is 10. So what is that area? That represents the percent of the population, because the area under the curve is 1, standing for all the population. So that's what it's doing. It also represents the probability if you randomly chose someone from this population that they fell from 90 to 100 with their IQ score. So that's what it's doing. It's doing that calculation, and then you're just recording it as a percent, taking it 2 places to the right. So what percentage of babies are born prematurely with this data? So 19 or more days early. So that's going to be 246 or less. So below 246. And then we got to put in the mean of 265 and standard deviation of 13. So 0.0719. And then not born prematurely, you do the complement. So there's a lot of complement principle going on in this. 0.9281. So 7.19%, 92.81%. Okay, and your calculator, you use it on and on in this manner. So above 170, this will give you 0.0863 or 8.63% with those 3. And then the second page is this giant problem here. And so your mean is 64.5, standard deviation is 2.3. And you have these first 3 situations, less than 61. So that's 0.065. More between 61 and 66, so 0.6769. 0.69%, and then more than 66, so 0.2581. So you're using the calculator to do this. So A and C are how many of the women that this does not work for. So you're going to add the 0.065 to the 0.2581. That's 0.3231. So you're going to take that times the 10,500. And that's going to give you about 3393. Okay, so times 10,500. So 3393 rounded, and then you're just going to do 10,500 minus that, the complement, to get how many women would be eligible to cheer. Approximately 7,107 would be eligible. So either you're eligible or you're not eligible to cheer. So an outlier means that we subtract the standard deviation 3 times from the mean. That's essentially the purpose of standard deviation, is to be subtracted and added to the mean a number of times, depending upon the question. It all has to do with outliers in the empirical rule. So 3 times, so 57.6 and then 71.4 on that. So pretty easy to use the calculator. And then you apply the complement principle to each of these questions. Just make sure you write down the decimal equivalent correctly, and convert it to a percent correctly, I meant to say. And this is, again, is on the learning plan. Very simple. And the result below here is that area, again, that it's calculating under the curve. So it's doing this like a vertical swatch of the area that you are concerned about underneath that normal curve. So these are the solutions for quiz 1 in the third trimester of Algebra 2. I meant to say quiz 8 in the third trimester. Getting awful tired these days. Quiz 8 in the third trimester of Algebra 2.